Hi everybody, this is Rob from FLX. We just wanted to reach out to you guys and keep you updated. You've ordered a bike, probably wondering where it is. We've been in full production, and last week we had everything ready to go. We were supposed to receive the new motors from Bafang and get started on assembly. Unfortunately, when we went to Bafang, we did run into a very minor issue. What it is we found that the shafts in the motors, though they're made to quite high specs and they did pass the general test that they've got, they weren't machined to a precise enough standard for us. This is an area that we've paid a lot of close attention to, even since our first G1 bikes. You may have seen a video where we went out and inspected every single shaft. We were where they make the shafts. So we've run into a similar thing with Bafang. Basically every single shaft has a square peg at the end of it that's made so that the crank will go on it, and they should fit together very, very tightly. A bolt will go into the end of the shaft and make sure that stays on. And with all bicycles, there's going to be some point they recommend, after the first 50 miles to tighten it up a bit, and then to check that very often, because it does go through a lot of stresses as you're pedaling, so it needs to be tightened quite frequently. Now, the closer these are machined in precision to each other, that's the crank and the shaft, the longer you can go without having to tighten these bolts up. And what we found with Bafang is that although the crank was machined very, very well, and the shaft, they did a good job on it, it just wasn't close enough for what we wanted. We do a test with a very precise gauge, just how tight that is, to see if there's any movement at all in any direction. Make sure that the length of the shaft is correct, and even though the length and everything was correct and it does fit the specification, we found that with a lot of shafts there was a tiny bit of movement when you went side to side. And what that means is it's not 100%, it's not bang on, which is the word that we like. So we had to refuse the shipment. So we said, sorry guys, we can't take these motors. We need to do these shafts again. Now, Bafang has made 200,000 motors with exactly these shafts, and say they've never run into this issue before. But because we've seen it before on prototypes and stuff, and it's a very, very important thing, we don't want you guys to have to always be tightening your crank bolts all the time. So we're going to take a little bit of extra time, make sure they get these shafts even better. Bafang is actually they're making shafts right now to a higher precision standard. They've gone through, recalibrated all the machines, and they're going to make these to a much closer standard. As soon as they're finished, which should be in just a few days, we're going to go up there, and every single shaft they make, we're going to go through and personally be inspecting each side of every shaft, and we're going to make a few different piles. We're going to put all the good ones, the best ones they've got, the top gun of these shafts into one side, and these are going to be ones that are okay for them to use in our motors. So we're going to only use those. The rest of them, we don't want them on FLX bikes, so Bafang can use those in other motors if they want, but not in FLX bikes. So that's what we're going to do, just waiting on the shafts to be finished. We're going to go inspect them, get the best of them in these motors, wait for the motors, and assemble the bikes. I know you guys have been waiting, you've been so patient. This is a very hard video to make, but this is just one of the manufacturing concerns that came up, and we decided it was a tough call to say no to the motors for right now. Let's take a little bit of extra time, do it right, make sure the bike is as good as possible, because we don't want to send out anything that we're not 1,000% happy with. So that's what's going on, guys. We'll get these shafts and the motor in about a week, and then we're going to start assembling bikes and ship them out. So huge apologies for the delay, but I hope you guys can understand why we need to do this to make sure that you get a better product. Thanks guys for understanding. See you next time.